Can we start? Okay. So I am going to present now. Okay, let's start. Cloud computing is one of the most promising and emerging technologies in the IT world, and more and more companies are moving now to the cloud infrastructure. Let us have a look into the overview of cloud computing. These are the topics that we are going to discuss today. What is cloud computing? The benefits of cloud computing, the types of cloud deployment models, the types of cloud services, and there will be a live demo session where we will create a live server from scratch in the cloud infrastructure. Then definitely you will have a session for to answer your questions. So, what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is actually the on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet as pay-as-you-go pricing. Take the example of email service. I mean, Gmail is actually a cloud service where you can log into Gmail from your personal laptop, or you can even log in from your mobile. It doesn't matter where we are in the world. We just need to have an active or open internet connection. Then consider the case of corporate world, where the whole IT resources, I mean, the whole requirement of the IT resources of a multinational company with branches spanned across the planet can be delivered via cloud technology. Let's see how it's going. So the delivery of computing resources, it can be a server, storage, database, networking, or softwares. Typically, we pay only for the cloud service that you use. This helps to lower operational cost and scale as you need. And the company that provides the cloud service are called cloud providers. Amazon Web Service or AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud are some of the major cloud providers. The term cloud is derived as we are fetching all these services typically from the internet. So let's see the benefits of cloud computing. Before saying that, let us discuss what all are the traditional or on-premise IT infrastructure. In, in an on-premise or local IT infrastructure, we need the local hardware, we need operating system on top of that, and we need softwares. Before that itself, we need the complete infrastructure setup on primarily based on the location of the company itself, which includes hardwares like server, network must be configured, databases should be there, and as a whole, a data center should be there. And this setup requires a high initial investment. The capital investment will be very high, where we are talking about thousands of servers, and the cost will be like in millions. This setup again will become old within a span of time. Replacing with newer technologies will be difficult sometimes. And the software and hardware always need to be upgraded, and the maintenance costs are always higher. I mean, consider the case where we buy a local desktop for our use, and we are going to use it for a particular software. And within 1 or 2 years, the software they might upgrade the software, and they says like you need an upgraded hardware to continue to work on this software. Within 2 years itself, your hardware become obsolete and all your investment went to pain. Let's see how we can overcome that via cloud computing. The cloud computing always have high availability. I mean, there's no waiting for resources, and we are just renting the computing resources from the cloud provider. Flexibility and scalability. We can quickly start the service and can scale up and down the resource like CPU. If you want more CPU, you can directly go there and add a CPU, and your server will have more CPU. Same like RAM, all based on your requirements. Cost savings. There is no capital investment or initial investment required. Just pay for the service that we use. And it will have the access to the latest technology. The cloud provider is always up to date, and will have the softwares up to date. And it will have an enterprise level data protection that will be almost like the best in the world that you can get. So let us take an example of a financial company. Here, this blue line that I am showing here shows or indicates the maximum CPU level the servers can handle. And this orange line indicates the actual CPU usage of that physical machine. So here you can see like 76% of the CPU is not utilized. I mean, it's not utilized throughout the year, and it is only because of the normal months that the user will only be working on some file transfer or the Excel updates or something like that. And during the financial year end, they need to execute big amount of data, and hence we get a spike over here. So for this 1 month alone, the company will have to buy the high-end servers and keep it idle for most of the time. We can, in the case of cloud computing, the user may be logged into a service hosted in the cloud, and it comes with auto-scaling capacity of IT resources, which allows to match the resource demand, and in our case, CPU. So whenever a CPU demand is required, the cloud resource will automatically scale up and down and based on its requirement. So there will be no overhead, no maintenance of servers, and you only have to pay for the computing power. And in our case, it's the CPU. So cloud deployment models. We have three major cloud deployment models. One is public, private, and hybrid. Public cloud, as you can see in the picture, like we are just taking a bus service, we can just go inside a bus, hop in a bus, take a ticket, and travel as where as we want and hop out. In the same way, we can avail the service from the cloud provider on a pay-as-you-go basis. It is completely owned by the cloud provider, and it provides resources and services to multiple organizations, and users connect to the service are via a secured connection, typically over the internet. The advantages are we don't have any capital investment at all. We don't need any maintenance as it is owned completely by the cloud provider. And public cloud is the mostly or widely used cloud model. Most companies use the public cloud as it is more economical and efficient than the other two. Private cloud. It's like owning our own private car. This is completely owned by the organization that uses the resources from the cloud. They create a cloud infra in their own data center. Like owning a car, our capital investment will be huge. The companies where the user data is so sensitive that they are not allowed to take the data outside, or a government policy that requires the data to keep in country will go for private. And next is the hybrid cloud. This is actually a mixture of both, where it allows the organization to leverage some of benefits from public cloud, like cost and efficiency, but keeping the data private and isolated in private cloud. A use case will be using a private cloud by government to keep the military data isolated, and then using a public cloud for large resources which can be available for general public. The advantages are we will get more control and security, and the company compliance can be met with their own set of standards. So let us discuss the different cloud service model. We have mainly three service models available. It's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. First one, IaaS. As the name suggests, we are the one who is going to handle the complete infrastructure. We can decide the configuration of server, we can decide what operating system we want, and the application, the software, and where the cloud provider will handle all the network and storage. Platform as a service, where the user will get a pre-configured operating system and user needs to handle the application and data. This is primary focus on application development, and the platform management is handled by the cloud provider. But in the case of SaaS, here everything is managed by the cloud provider, except the data and access. User can access to the software provided by the cloud provider. Let us check more on this. So here, first we can discuss also on the on-premise, or in the case of a private cloud, where you are the one who is going to provide and manage all the resources, from starting from the building up the infrastructure, storage, network, compute, and then creating the server, operating system, application, and data access. In the case of infrastructure as a service, we will be managing only from an operating system point of view. We will select the operating system and we will have all the benefit of adding, and so maybe we can add more virtual machine or storage or network or OS from the cloud provider. And the pricing is pay as you go model. I mean, there is no upfront cost. User is responsible for the purchasing, installation, management of their softwares. The cloud provider is responsible for the underlying cloud infrastructure. As you can see, the storage, networking, and compute problems. In the case of platform as a service, it is responsible for building, testing, and deployment of software applications. Like deploying a web application using PaaS. You don't have to install operating system. The server is available for the user to configure. Many of the web developer or the web app developers mainly use PaaS. So let's check about SaaS. Here, software as a service is a software which is centrally hosted and managed by the cloud provider for the customer. It allows users to connect to and use cloud-based apps, typically via the internet. The common example is Office 365, or as I said, Gmail. It uses pay-as-you-go model and user pay for the software. So now I have planned to give you a session on, let me check. You'll create a live server from scratch. I mean, in the cloud infrastructure itself. Let me share one of my screen here. So what I'm going to show is the console of Microsoft Azure and to build a new server from scratch. Then we will enable the web service on it so that we can test it. So basically, this is a console where we can build the whole infrastructure of an organization. This is the console of Microsoft Azure. This is actually an example of infrastructure as a service. And the temporary account that I'm using here is showing, let me check. Yeah, it is the temporary account that I'm using, and I cannot use the corporate account since it is not, I mean, not allowed to use that due to security reason. So this, as you can see here, you can start a virtual machine here. You can have the networking, your own networking. You can configure your storage. You can create mobile applications, databases, containers, and even artificial intelligence can be configured with machine learning and Internet of Things, like what we use in Amazon Alexa. Everything can be configured here. So each of this section actually requires another good amount of time to discuss. So we are not going deep into any of this. We are just going to create a virtual machine from the cloud platform. So I'm going to create a virtual machine right now. I believe you can see my screen. So the subscription model, I said like it's a free trial that I have created a temporary account just for our seminar. I'm going to create a group, a resource group where I can place our virtual machine and all other related parts into it. I'm going to give a name. It's a Azure group. We are going to give a machine name. And in the case of Microsoft Azure, it is available all around the world, and it has the disaster recovery method. So it is mirrored in every region. So wherever it has a data center it's mirrored to. We can select anywhere we want unless there is a policy that has a restriction. So I'm going to go with the first one itself. And this is again the redundancy needs, which we are not going to discuss now. And image, this is the place where we can select our operating system. We can select whichever operating system that we want. And our case, I'm just going to go with our 2019 data center, and we can select our own CPUs and our own RAMs. I mean, we can configure all this here. I'm just going with the default value here and going to give a username. Giving a password. And I'm going to enable the ports RDP port 3389 and HTTP. The reason why is that normally we will connect to the cloud computer or the cloud computing technology via a secured gateway. And this is a test, and we are not going to create all these virtual networks and secured gateways. We will just allow our RDP port open so that we can connect from anywhere from the world directly into this virtual machine. Virtual machine is actually a software emulation of physical machine. There is no difference for an end user. He'll get the same machine itself. There is no difference between a virtual machine or a physical machine for the end user. It's just a software emulation. We will go ahead with disk. Here we can configure which kind of disk that we need for the OS. We can select the normal HDD, or we can go with the premium solid state drive. And if you want, we can attach more disks, which I'm not going to do right now. And as I said earlier, we are not going to create any virtual networks or anything. We are just going to create a normal server. And here the Azure will automatically assign all the network, subnet, IPs, everything for you. And this is just an overview of our session, and we are not going to deep into it, just the basic steps. So I'm going to the management, where if you want to enable the monitoring, which I don't want to, and we can, I'm just going with all the default values here. I forgot to type something. Let's check what it is. Okay. Somehow the operating system got reversed. Let me check the right one. Standard SSD, no this. Going with the default values. Okay. At this point, maybe we can download this template and use for automation. For the next time, if we want to create 100 or 1,000 servers at a simple go, you just need to create it. I mean, use the same template for automation and then create it. So I'm going to create it right now. Here you can see, while it is creating, you can see the subscription rate, which is not actually the right one. This is a temporary account, that's why it's showing like that. For a corporate world, we'll have a different pricing, and we are just going to pay for what we are using. And in our case, when I selected, I will check, I will review that again, and you can just simply see that for per hour pricing was listed over there. Now you can see we are here, the Azure is actually creating the public IPs, the virtual networks, and secure gateways for us. We just need to wait for a bit more, since this is the first time we are creating this server for this infra. And at this moment, I might need a volunteer from your side, somebody who is logged in with a laptop or desktop and not from mobile. so that they can share their desktop and we can log into this server that I am being creating from their machine. So let me know if someone is ready. So you can see the machine is now created and it's now turning on the machine. Okay, the deployment is successful and we can go to the resource. It will just take a couple of minutes to reflect. Here it is, the server is ready. And is there anyone here who can share your screen so that we can start this server from their side? I mean, the whole reason is that we are now in the cloud and you can log in to this server from anywhere in the world. I just want to show you that from using another person's machine. Okay, I guess I will start it from my side itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my server, the one that I created right now from my machine. So I believe you can now see the remote desktop connection. This is the reason why we enabled RDP port so that we can connect it via a remote desktop connection to that particular server. So let me log into that server. Okay, I just saw a message that Alvin Jacob Joy is able to help me. So Alvin, can you hear me? So can you switch on your mic?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yeah, just take a remote desktop connection in your system.
Okay. How should I take that?
Okay, which operating? Can you share your screen?
Yes,
Or
of course.
yeah, okay.
Yes. Persons. Guys. Sir, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Just call me Jacob. Okay, and
Yeah.
right click on your start window.
Okay.
and give
Then
run, right click, then click run.
run. Okay. Okay.
MSTSC,
Yes.
MSTSC, type in MSTSC.
Yes. Then I should. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
You.
Webinar
Maybe
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I right, sir?
Yes, click OK.
They are asking for. What's
Yes,
this?
because we are directly connecting to a server in the internet. It is asking for, you can just click yes. There's no issue on that.
Okay.
We'll be deleting this server right after this session, so there is no security options.
Okay. Oof.
So what we are seeing is the server that we just created.
Oh. Okay.
Click cross that, the first one, the
This.
small window,
Okay.
and click local server on top left.
Local server.
Yeah, wait for it. Let it come. Look, you can see that the server that we built is 2019 data center server edition, and the processor is Xeon with 8 GB of RAM.
Oof. Okay.
So what you created is actually, or what you logged in is, we can say like an example of platform as a service. Consider yourself as a web developer where you need a server alone with. It's still nothing is coming, I guess.
Include all sub feature.
Okay, press again.
Yes.
Press tab again.
Something is.
Yeah. I mean, just one time. Okay, enough. Don't do
Okay.
anything. Just click OK.
Okay.
So what is happening here is, can you just maximize? I cannot see what is happening over there. The PowerShell window, maximize. Okay, what we are starting is just a feature of Windows to enable a web server.
Okay.
So once this is completed, I mean, this server will be available from a web browser. Then you can, as a normal web developer, he can go ahead and install all the web service, whatever they need. And this will be available for everyone when we are accessing from the internet.
Oh, okay, sir.
I just want to show that once this is completed, maybe just we can, some other guy can just show their screen, or even you can see, there is no need. Just go to your laptop. Once this is completed, it has to be 100%.
Yes.
I still not clear. What is the percentage right now it is completed?
It's 92, sir.
Yeah, it's going to complete in a minute.
Yeah.
Sure.
Your address. Okay.
On the top.
Yes.
On the top of, again top.
Oh, yeah.
On the topmost center part.
This.
Topmost center part. Center.
This.
Yeah. Minimize that.
Minimize. Oh, okay.
Okay, and take a browser.
Okay, I'm taking a browser.
And type in the IP 13 dot.
13 dot
68 dot
8 dot
168 dot
168 dot
100. Enter.
Oh.
And you can see our Internet Information Service, I mean the IAS is enabled. And if you are a web developer and you have done something over there, and we will get, I mean, anybody will get the same thing right now. Okay. Yes. Can you again go to the RDP, remote automation? We can just log out from your session from there.
So how will we?
Okay, just click the start.
Start.
In your session. Actually, this is a separate server that is available for our use. This is actually, even though you don't feel any difference from a normal server, right? I mean, this is a virtual machine, and you can play the same way you are working on a physical machine. This is actually a virtual machine that I just created. And normally it will just take a seconds to complete. This is the first time we are creating the infra that swipe to a couple of minutes. But even to create 100 of servers, same like this, it is going to take a couple of seconds or minutes maximum. So just
Okay.
click the power button over there,
Okay.
and
Then
you must get,
disconnect
yeah,
or
just
shut down.
disconnect. No, disconnect is enough. I will turn off the machine from here.
Okay.
Okay, now you can close your presentation. I will get back from
Okay.
here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you, Elvin. So what we saw here is the example of three models. I mean, first we got the infrastructure as a service where I have the complete Azure environment and we can create an Azure or a server from start. We can configure the network, we can configure the storage, we can configure whatever the requirements based on our organization. The next thing what Alvin did was there is a requirement where he only need a server with an operating system and he can do the balance. That's the case where platform as a service comes into the picture, where the cloud provider will give him, right now we have used an RDP port, but we will give him a secure gateway connection where a VPN tunnel will be created, and between the VPN tunnel and the server, we can connect from our mobile to this server, and we can work on it. And we can connect from our mobile to this server, and we can work on it. And after that, we check that we just logged into a server, I mean an IP. So we haven't configured anything. That's why we had to log into an IP. Otherwise, if the DNS lookup and everything has been done, we can create an account like Gmail and we can log into it. So the case here is when we log into that